Joining me now, former Deputy Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs, General John Tykert, and Foundation for Defense of Democracy's President Clifford May. All right. General, if the United States does strike this underground nuclear facility, wouldn't you imagine there's also a pretty significant bombing campaign to eliminate the rest of the offensive capabilities that the Iranian military possesses?
Jesse, you're right. There's two major target areas right now for the United States and Israel to consider. And that is Iran's nuclear program. And that is that still fairly large but dwindling ballistic missile fleet that Iran still contains that could be targeted anywhere in the Middle East and beyond. And anything that the president decides to do needs to weigh the factors about the timeliness of activity, the necessity of activity, will it work, and what are the downsides? But we are well postured to be able to execute whatever the president decides, especially against those two target areas.
All right, and Cliff, if those are struck, the ballistic missiles and the underground nuclear bunker, what does the Ayatollah do? Does he stay in power at that point?
He may for a while at that point, yes, but he'll be defanged, he'll be declawed. It doesn't really matter. Could there be a revolution against him? Could it be a coup? Absolutely. Could it come from the IRGC? Yes, but those are not Jeffersonian Democrats. That's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. We don't know exactly what would happen from an America First point of view or an Israel First point of view. If this guy doesn't have nuclear weapons, he's not a threat to Israel, to America, to the Saudis, to the Emiratis, or anybody else. There's concern about what happens next. We will watch. We can help the good guys. I suggest we should. But it's really, at that point, it's not a big problem.
Okay. So, General, let's say these strikes are effective and this Ayatollah is defanged and the Iranian army moves on him and takes him out. So now we have an Iran that's led by the Iranian military. What does that look like then?
Jesse, any sort of regime change is fraught with uncertainty, but it is important to realize that with Israeli air superiority, which means they can strike targets at will, and once those ballistic missiles are depleted and the Iranian nuclear program is eliminated, then whatever happens internally in Iran, while important significantly in the long term, isn't a threat to the region or isn't a threat to the rest of humanity.
Got it. And Cliff, if these negotiations are fruitful, I mean, I don't have high expectations, but if they are, I mean, do you see a scenario where the Iranians say, all right, let the inspectors in, we'll just detonate everything we have, and we're done?
It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he's been in power since 1989. He's 86 years old. I think he's a true believer. I think he'd rather die as a martyr. But you can look at what happened at the end of the Iraq-Iran war, when the first supreme leader drank from the poisoned chalice. What did that mean? It would mean that, look, he would think to himself and rationalize, to keep in power, to keep the revolutionary theocratic regime in power, I will agree to give up all my weapons of mass destruction, all my nuclear facilities. I'll dismantle them. No, everything will be done the way the president asks. And then this revolutionary regime at some point will, excuse the expression, Jesse, build back better.
Or he could just get Gaddafi'd. And what they did to that guy in the streets of Libya was just horrific. What kind of message, General, does it send to the world if Donald Trump sets a deadline, delivers on that deadline, and these nuclear sites are terminated?
Jesse, the world is watching right now what is going on in Iran, both because of Israeli activities and the support from the United States. And whether it's Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un, they're trying to determine whether the United States has both strength of capability and will. And if we do, then that provides a huge deterrent factor. And if we do not, then it causes them or entices them to consider malign activities around the world.
And Cliff, in terms of the trade negotiations that are going on with pretty much every single country except Great Britain, are they looking at this too the same way?
Look, I think everybody is looking, and if what they see is that we have a president who doesn't bluff, we have a president who is as good as his word. This president has been saying since his last administration, I'm not going to let this regime, which has been chanting death to America and death to Israel since 1979, I'm not going to let them have the means to achieve that goal. I'm going to get rid of it. When people know that the president means what he says and says what he means, that is very important. Just to add to what the general said, because it's a very important point, there is an axis among Tehran, Moscow, Beijing, and Pyongyang, North Korea. This weakens it. You don't want all four of those nations, all of them which are anti-American, all of which are working together, all of them to be nuclear powered and be able to, in concert, threaten America. That would be a very bad thing. So this is a very important moment, as you very well articulated.
All right. 2 weeks. History's going to be made. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Great analysis.